So, something big just happened. Krunker just got acquired by a company called Forever, FRVR. In case you don't know, Forever, and here, let me pull up their website really quick. Forever is like the cool math games of browser games. And just today, Forever acquired Krunker. Forever acquired Krunker. And we'll get to talking about what acquiring means, and we'll talk about the message that Sydney sent. We have a lot to discuss. But this is a big deal. Forever is it almost looks like a website that would take and maybe this is bad for me to say. It almost looks like this is a website that if you clicked an ad that gives you a virus, it would take you to this web. And it's a hub of essentially mobile games. A lot of these games are direct ripoffs of mobile games. And so it's a big deal now that it just got announced that Krunker, and I'll have to hide the owl, unfortunately, for this, because I want you guys to see everything that I provided. Say bye to the owl. We'll bring him back, don't worry. So it's a big fucking deal that Forever has now purchased Krunker. So let's talk about what that means. Let's first read the message that Sydney sent out, because I think this is important to talk about. And I'll read this verbatim. We have an exciting update to announce. Krunker has been acquired by Forever. Simply put, our creative prospects and visions were much more ambitious than our current resources could handle. This led to a strained workload that forced updates to be pushed back more than expected. We sought out a partnership with Forever to alleviate many issues and bottlenecks. I will still maintain full creative and technical control during Krunker's development. Forever is here to help bring the game and community to its full potential by providing a team of engineers and specialists. This has been in the works for over a month now, and their communication, reliability, and efforts have been amazing. There's going to be a lot of concerns and questions during this transition, and we'll try to make ourselves available as much as possible during this time, but here are some things to expect. For Krunker creators, with the additional workforce, we have considerably more resources to push out content better and more consistently. Publishing Krunker on different channels and marketing will increase the player base. This is more viewership opportunities. For game makers, Forever recognizes the importance of players being able to design their own games. You can expect some significant improvements from the game editor, Krunk script. We're going to be talking about this in depth, and possibly partnership opportunities. Weapon balancing. Forever has extensive analytic tools at their disposal and a huge support system to be able to accurately and fairly balance the meta using actual statistics and community outreach. Competitive and casual. We haven't had much time to put into a roadmap for ranked play, but you can still benefit from other areas of improvements. This includes a quality assurance system to find bugs and performance issues before updates, and we're looking into full-time engineers to process gameplay performance on your client and the servers. For the asset community, there's going to be a higher demand on the creative side of Krunker. This includes skin makers, renders, mods, and more. We'll continue to provide opportunities to talented community members for these regards. You can look forward for more long-term partnerships, commissions, monthly skin competitions, etc. Bringing on such a large team takes a lot of time for them to understand the community and code base. It'll take some time before we get this train moving, but for the meantime, we're still going to try for weekly updates. Big content update just around the corner. A Q&A session will be hosted with myself and some of the Forever staff to address any questions that you guys might have. I just want to say thank you to everyone who stuck around and supported Krunker. We can confidently say this new chapter has many things to look forward to. P.S. There'll be some limited edition skins during the Twitch drop happening right now. And he's very excited for this new chapter of the game. This is a big fucking deal. And there's no other way of putting it than that. This is a huge deal. Something I want to get out of the way very, very quickly. There are two very big terms brought up in this post that kind of make this unclear of what Sydney's talking about. And those are the terms acquisition. As we can see it right, I think he talks about acquisition right here, acquired, and partner, which he talks about right here. These are two different business terms, and they don't mean the same thing. So I want to briefly talk about the difference between them and which one I think he actually meant. So the difference between an acquisition and a partnership is pretty clear. An acquisition is when one business buys out another to become the new owner. Typically, not always, but typically the old leadership leaves, while partnerships are a less serious ordeal where multiple companies will work together to further their own means as a company, right? And in terms of some examples of partners, big ones that come to mind for me are going to be Red Bull and GoPro and Doritos and Taco Bell. Right? Red Bull and GoPro partner together to essentially when Red Bull hosts a huge event, say skydiving from the solar system, GoPro are the cameras that they use, and they advertise both of them concurrently during those events, right? They don't get a profit split of each of their sales. They just sell them together, right? Same thing with Doritos Locos Tacos, right? This is a partnership, right? When Doritos is pushing their product, and with Doritos Locos Taco sales, Taco Bell is buying the Doritos shells from Doritos and then selling them, and then Taco Bell gets the profit, right? It's a partnership, not an acquisition. Taco Bell doesn't own Doritos. Red Bull doesn't own GoPro. They are simply two companies working together. Acquisitions are a little bit more serious. So acquisitions are like Disney picking up Marvel and Pixar, Amazon buying Whole Foods, Microsoft buying literally half of the gaming universe, right? These are acquisitions. This is when one company buys the entirety of another, or at least 51% of another company, right? So Microsoft buying Activision, Blizzard, and King means now Microsoft is in charge of Activision, Blizzard, and King, right? Amazon buying Whole Foods means Amazon now owns Whole Foods. Same thing with Disney, Marvel, and Pixar, right? Something to note is not all acquisitions are generally good things, right? One of the best acquisitions ever made was the Disney Marvel Pixar acquisition. Disney picked up Pixar and Marvel and has since made very, very profitable movies from those movies, profiting and making a lot of money from that acquisition. Disney paid a very pretty penny for those companies, and they've been able to make that money back. Not all acquisitions go well. For example, one that you guys might not know about is that Quaker Oats bought Snapple a few years and they bought Snapple for a whopping $1.7 billion and ended up having to sell it for $300 million 2 years later, essentially losing $1.6 million a day from that interaction because they weren't able to make that acquisition work, right? So it's not a guarantee that acquisitions are always good things, but that is the biggest difference between an acquisition and a partnership, is that acquisitions come with the exchanging of developing a company. Microsoft owns Activision, Blizzard, and King now, right? That's different than Taco Bell working with Doritos. That's one of the biggest differences that we need to talk about here. So now, Forever owns Krunker, which is kind of crazy. So let's talk about why they would want to do this. What would Forever want? Why would Forever want to acquire Yendis, right? Why does Forever want to purchase Krunker from the hands of Yendis? Well, first off, it's a browser game with an active player base. And as we've seen from Forever before, Forever is just a hub of different browser games. So this is just a purchase that makes sense, right? It's another really, really nice jewel for them to put on there and really advertise heavy as a very successful multiplayer game that they can purchase from. Another huge reason, and let me move my camera here because you guys definitely can't see this anymore. Another huge reason is that Forever is really into mobile gaming and CrunkScript. These are mobile gaming and CrunkScript. We'll talk about this later. CrunkScript has the potential to print money, right? If you can go the Roblox route, any company will want to buy anything that can even come close to what Roblox does, right? And so CrunkScript is a huge selling point for Krunker here. Mobile gaming is massive. Forever makes a ton of money off of ad revenue. All of their games on their browser can be played on mobile as well. And so I expect to have seen a real reason why Forever really wanted this purchase is because Krunker is making very consistent improvements to their mobile system, right? A huge rework just happening just recently. And then one that might be a little bit more insidious, that might be a little bit harder to tell. One of the big reasons I think that they're actually buying it is because of Krunker's already foot in the door of NFTs. The reason I bring this up is because the people that gave Forever the money to buy Krunker is a investing company called Hero Invest, HIRO. And just recently, Hero put together $360 million worth of money that they were going to use, in their words, into early stage games and metaverse innovators with global potentials, right? And a large amount of the money that Forever raised to make these purchases came from Hero Investing. In fact, as we're gonna talk about it, I believe Forever raised $76 million worth, and some of that money goes to Krunker. Obviously not all 76 million, but that's where some of that money is going to. 76 million of the dollars that Hero Investing raised went to Forever to help make this purchase. And one of the biggest reasons that Hero is looking for a return on investment is that metaverse innovator, right? Krunker already has its foot in the door when it comes to NFTs. So that's a really big thing that Hero wants to see, and I think a really big thing that Forever wants to see is the mobile gaming side But this is not a deal that was just made on Forever's end. This is a deal that was also made on Yendis's end. So let's talk about why Yendis would want to be acquired. Dev support, that's something that they talked about. Having higher dev support allows them to take off bugs faster and have a higher focus on just content creation. It might give them a new vision for the game with more sort of cooks in the kitchen. You can get more opinions. Partnering with a strong company. This is FRVR is a company that has shown that they can propel themselves to success with multiple different types of sort of browser games, and they can really sort of help propel Krunker 6. All right, you know what? I'm sorry. It's all about the money. Let's be real here. It's about cashing out. Yendis made a goddamn fucking bag off this deal. No one knows exactly how much money Krunker and Sydney and crew made, but I am willing to guarantee you that is at least 8 figures. This is a number in between 10 million and 74 million, right? This Krunker is making a dime off these folks, right? And so money is a really, really big reason. And it's the goal of every company, right? To grow to a size where you can sell it and then live easy. And so this isn't something to shame the developers about, but money's a big deal here. And this might be money that they put right back into the game to develop it more. This might be money that allows them to live better lives, right? And so this is just something to this is just something to know and consider as we start to talk about this deal. But it's a lot of money. Like I said, FRVR secured $76 million of funding that they were going to use to invest deeply into content for their game's platform. Now, the $76 million doesn't exactly have to only go into games, right? It can go into paying staff, hiring more developers, upgrading their website. But I am imagining a large portion of this is going towards collecting new IPs. So your Krunkers, your Eve.ios, right? These games that already have large player bases that are dedicated and are thriving scenes all on their own, I can expect to see being picked up by FRVR here shortly. That $76 million came from Hero Capital, raising $340 million from investors in terms of their funding for those metaverse-based activities, right? This is why I say NFTs are going to be a huge portion of this deal and why I expect to see more NFTs being brought into Krunker because of this purchase. FRVR is making the money moves. This is, it's a gamble. It's a gamble for sure. So let's talk about what we can expect, right? What are we able to expect and what are our big takeaways here? So what you can expect is a new link for Krunker. It's no longer going to be krunker.io. It's going to be krunker.forever.io.com.net. I don't know. It's going to be under FRVR's IP, and so FRVR's going to want to brand it with their link. They're probably going to even want to put it on their own website. And so expect a new link. That's just for beginners. Sydney said he will maintain, and this is a quote, maintain full creative and technical control of Krunker's development. Time will tell how true this is. Every developer that gets acquired always says this, and it's not always true. At the end of the day, because Krunker just got acquired, Sid's no longer the boss. He now has to answer to FRVR and the developers and the business and the suits at FRVR, right? And so now if Sydney wants to have something done, he has to make sure he gets that yes from FRVR, right? And if FRVR says no, he can't do this anymore, right? So time will tell how much creative and technical control that FRVR gives them, how much of a leash they let Sid and crew have. But Sid maintains that he will have full creative and technical control, and as far as we can tell, we have to take his word for it. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I expect to see huge reworks for mobile. Mobile is going to get so much love here shortly. As I said before, FRVR has a huge focus on mobile gaming. This is where they make so much money from their games from. Their game is based on ad revenue, and so not only do they push ad revenue through their games on the browser, they also push that ad revenue through mobile, right? And so you can expect to see more ads when it comes to Krunker, as well as a huge focus on mobile. More NFTs. This is why the people that gave FRVR the money want to see metaverse maneuvers, right? And so more NFTs, bigger focus on non-fungible tokens in the Krunker space is going to be a big deal. I would expect to see some NFT meshing with the KrunkScript community. Again, we're gonna have a conversation about that here shortly. But I expect to see more NFTs for Krunker because that's what the big money wants to see. More streamlined content down the pipeline, right? With more developers and more engineers, you're going to be able to take care of the small stuff so you can have more developers focusing on the big stuff. A lot of the content creators in this game really want to see more streamlined content, not like waiting for 3 months and then coming out with a huge patch, right? Maybe something like just a drip feed, like not a drip feed, but like a steady flow of things coming one after the other, right? We don't need these huge, massive updates. A lot of people just would rather see consistent updates that continue to change. And with a bigger staff, you're able to handle that. And then, like I said, more ads. Forever's huge model, the way that Forever makes money is through ads. They play ads after every single game that you play. And that might be something that carries over to Krunker, right? Maybe after you play your 4-minute game, they play a 30-second ad. So that is something to note. That might be something that changes again in the future. But ads are going to be a future here for Forever, because that's how Forever prints money. How should we feel about this? If you're the average player, nothing changes for you. The average player, I'll put myself up here. The average player, nothing is going to change. The exact content that you would be receiving from Krunker, you're still going to be receiving from Forever. Maybe the link will change. Maybe you'll get new content, but largely the experience will remain. For content creators, you should be a little bit cautiously optimistic, I would say. Right? The promises of consistent updates and more developers is really, really exciting. However, again, we have to talk about the leash that Forever is going to be giving to Sydney, right? How much creative control are they going to allow Krunker to have in this process? How much are they going to let them to sort of develop these ideas? Is there going to be any red tape that Krunker now has to get around before they can push out an update, right? Are they going to have to get okays from Forever's dev team? Forever is still a very small company in the grand scheme of things, and so they're going to be able to make changes a lot more rapidly than like your Facebooks. However, it's still going to be going through another hand. Another hand is going to have to sign the paper. Another pair of eyes are going to have to watch what happens. And so you kind of have to look out for that. I would be optimistic though. And then for Krunk scripters are making out with an absolute bag here. If you are a map maker, a skin creator, if you're a creative in Krunker, especially if you work with Krunk script, you are going to be seeing huge opportunities for you and huge changes. Especially with Krunk script. I cannot state this enough. If Krunker can get to the level where you can develop games and maps and ideas like Roblox can, I'm telling you folks, it is a money printing machine, right? And that is what all of these, that is why this is an 8-figure deal, is because Krunk script has 10-figure opportunities. Right? It is a huge deal, and Krunk script, I expect to see huge reworks. As of right now, it's a little bit it's a bit clunky to use. It's tough to sort of maneuver around. If you can make it as easy to use as your Roblox, as Kashi said, the Halo Reach map editor, then you have big ideas, right? But yeah, Krunk scripters, this is in creatives like skin map makers, this is huge for you. This is massive. So, but you guys don't come to me for opinions about skins and map makers. You come to me about opinions for comp. And this is kind of what I really wanted to sort of make this about and focus about. How do you feel if you're a comp player? There's really one word that describes how I feel as someone in the comp community looking at this purchase. Monka-S. Competitive was never a huge priority for the dev team at Yendis, right? It's never something that they put all their eggs in a basket on. Things didn't move fast in the comp community when it came to developer support. And this is the first game, as far as I can tell, that Forever is picking up that has a very active multiplayer competitive scene. And so one of the biggest questions for me is how Faceit, Yendis, and Forever are going to be working together to develop the comp scene. Because right now, especially if we go back to, let's go back to this slide right here, it's talking about competitive and casual. They haven't had, they even say it right here. I'll read this again and I'll give you the translation. What Sydney says is they haven't had much time to work out a roadmap, but you can still benefit from other areas of improvement. This includes quality assurance to find bugs, performance issues before updates, and full-time engineers to optimize gameplay performance and client in your servers. Translating that in real person talk, that means we didn't talk about this at all. This is not a priority. Don't expect change. The only change that you should expect is how it gets impacted by other areas of the... Don't have your hopes high. They did not talk about competitive. This is not a big priority piece for Yendis. This is not a big priority piece for Forever. It's going to be really up to time of how they sort of treat this. I do not have my hopes high when it comes to the points of this, as pretty much Sydney has just directly said that they have no plans for it at the moment, right? Hopefully those plans start to develop as this game gets bigger and bigger. However, reading in between the lines, you don't have to read very hard. There's obviously not a whole lot planned in the system. It's not a whole lot of juice, unfortunately. But yeah, so I'm Monka-essing here as a competitive head here. But not all hope is dead. Let's talk about lastly, the last thing I want to bring up is this Q&A that's happening. Let me turn off my camera here. Where's my camera? There it is. So as we saw in that previous on Sydney's post, they're going to be hosting a Q&A. This Q&A doesn't have a date or a time on it yet. No one knows when it's happening, so we got to kind of keep our ears to the ground when it comes to this sort of Q&A. But I wanted to sort of compile a bunch of questions that I want to make sure are asked. Questions that I find very, very important to be answered when it comes to this acquisition merger. So, firstly, why did you choose to accept this acquisition now, right? Why is Yendis in the position to accept this amount of money from Forever right now and not earlier or not later, right? Why is Yendis selling now? What are the biggest opportunities that Yendis is looking forward to pursuing after the acquisition, right? What doors are opening up for the Krunker team to help develop more and more of the game with the money that maybe or the support that Forever brings? Now we get into the juicy questions. Generally, in an acquisition, old leadership is phased out. What systems are in place to ensure the original developers still maintain creative control for the game, right? Oftentimes, this isn't something that's upheld when it comes to these acquisitions. A lot of just how like lions, if a new lion comes in and dominates the pride, they kill the kids of the old lion. That's just nature, right? The same thing happens in acquisitions a lot of the time. Old guard is phased out, new guard is phased in, and although that's not happening here as Sydney has, I'm curious to see how much control Sydney and his team are able to maintain after this acquisition, because at the end of the day, they all have to get yeses from the Forever team to get permission to do anything. Nextly, this is Forever's first acquisition of a competitive game. How is Yendis, Faceit, and Forever going to work together to develop the competitive scene for this game further? This is a huge one, right? We now have 3 cooks in the kitchen, all working on the exact same game that all would benefit from a more active competitive. And so it's in their best interests to develop it. But at the moment, it doesn't seem that there's a whole lot of plans for this type of development. And so I'm very curious to see how they plan on doing this more and more. This is a question that I really want to get answered for me personally. What plans do Yendis and Forever have to help content creators? Are there any new ideas or systems that will be implemented after the acquisition? For example, giving content creators early access to new content and features to help promote on Twitch and YouTube. This is something that I reached out to Kashi for his advice on what he wanted to see, just to get another perspective. Having more sort of, I guess, free flow communication and mutual benefit from content creators and developers is a huge interest of Forever and Krunker. And so sort of reaching out to your verified content creators, the people who've been making content for you for years, could be big. And this is a prime opportunity for Krunker to make those pivots into relying on their content creators. Another question I want to be answered is, what plans does Forever and Yendis have for the development of KrunkScript and how to get people into KrunkScript? Right now, it's a little bit complicated and it's a little bit tough to sort of get into. But this is one of the biggest opportunities that Krunker has to develop further as a company and to absolutely print money. So this has to be a huge priority on the minds of Forever and Krunker, and I expect there to be an answer for this. This is a question that I almost don't expect to ask, because I expect this question to be answered before I can even ask it. Another question, and this is a big one. One of the largest revenue sources for Forever is through, will the rollout implementation of ads change at all in Krunker? What I mean by this is, if you boot up a Forever game right now, let me pull one up. The way that they run ads, let me turn off ad block too, so we can actually see. Okay, it is turned off, right? The way that they run ads, let's do this, for example, right? You'll play a game, and as you start to play it, an ad will load. It's a 15-second ad, right? You have to wait out this ad the entire time, and then you're able to play your game, right? 15 seconds. And now I can play my game, right? We'll take, in here, I'll run out the clock right here, right? I think we get 5 shots, I want to say. And then we get to play again. I'm the goat out here in these streets, right? You want to play again? You would have to watch another ad, right? Here, I dodged the ad, but other times you wouldn't, right? And then you go back to Forever, right? And you can play another game. And that's how their whole system is based. It's all based on ad rev, on whether on mobile or whether on browser. And what I honestly am predicting is that in between Krunker games, you might have to watch an ad. I think that's the future. I think that's probably the way that they're going to continue. I hope it doesn't go that way, but if Forever has a huge focus on ad rev, that is a way I see them getting that ad rev down, right? And so a big question is how Krunker is going to change the way that they enforce ads, if at all. Another huge question that I don't see a lot of people talking about that I think could be a really, really big deal is a large percentage of the player base interacts with Krunker through various clients. If Forever has all of their games based on their website through ad revenue, if it's happening on another client like IDKR or your MTZ or anything like that, it's a lot harder to get those ads pushed through on those clients, right? So will players still be able to play through those third-party clients or the official clients, or will it only be on browser now, right? This is a huge deal. This is a huge, massive deal, and this is now in Forever's hands. This is a big decision Forever has to make on whether they want to keep supporting third-party sort of clients that players can use, because they don't have to. They could just revoke control. They can revoke the permissions that IDKR and Gato have to make clients about the over Krunker, right? So this is a huge thing that I really want to see an answer for. Additionally, one of the biggest things community members are asking for is open communication through videos, akin to what Overwatch has with the developer updates. Are there any plans to revamp not only the frequency, but the method of communication? And if so, what are they? Right? Just having a little bit more knowledge coming through from the words of the developers to the ears of the player base. A consistent flow of new content was something that was stated as a goal in the original Discord post. How do you plan on accomplishing this? What is the future of Krunker in respects to NFTs in the metaverse? This is my gut shot call. I believe NFTs are going to be a huge focus in the coming years when it comes to Krunker and the hero investing group that gave Forever the money to buy Krunker. I think this is going to be a huge focus from them, and so I expect to see changes with NFTs. And then lastly, one of the biggest priorities of Forever is their use of browser and mobile gaming to expand their audience. Will mobile Krunker start to see a higher amount of developer focus as well due to this? These are just a handful of the questions that I want to ask and want answered when it comes to this Q&A. This acquisition is a big deal, and I cannot stress this enough. I can't stress this enough, right? This acquisition's a BFG. It's a big BFD. It's a big fucking deal, right? And it has a lot of ramifications for a lot of components for this game. And especially with a company like Forever that I don't have a whole lot of experience in, I don't have a whole lot of trust when it comes to how much I trust Forever to treat this game well, especially when it comes to the comp scene. Those are just my takes, though. What are your guys' questions? What are your questions? I want to hear your questions so I can make notes on them or answer them if I have answers. What are y'all's questions about this? I don't think that's going to happen, though. It's legit going to kill the game, and I don't think Forever wants to do that. I saw that comment come out around ads. Browser only would kill a lot as well. But these are all possibilities, right? It's in new hands, right? I think at this point, Forever largely is targeting an audience that just plays like very casually, right? That will watch the ads, that will play on mobile, right? And so they're not really worried about killing the game because they have so many other games that print them money. You know what I mean? Hey, what's going on, Robbie? What are y'all's questions? What else? Browser only would break ranked? Yes! Yes, I know! That's why it's a huge concern. Everyone in the comp scene is already laughing at this acquisition. It's a bit scary. I would be concerned. I would be concerned for sure. Is Forever planning a large-scale revamp or just adjustments? We don't know. From what Sydney said he's going to maintain, and his development team going to maintain creative control, but I don't know how true that is. A lot of the times, companies that get acquired say that, but don't mean that, right? Because now Sydney has a boss. Sydney didn't have a boss before, but now he does. And so it's left to be said, right? Time will only tell when it comes to that. Hopefully, that's what this Q&A solves. Krunker between the trending games on Forever.com. Yeah, I mean, it could be huge, right? Having Forever is a big website. Something I saw was that over Forever's lifetime, it's had 1.5 billion different players, right? And it has millions of concurrent players playing right now. It's a big website for browser gaming. It's why they were able to raise so much money and make these huge purchases. So there might be a lot of really new players coming into the Krunker for the very first time. So it could be really good for revitalizing a fresh breath of players into the scene. It could be really good for content creators, having a brand new audience to reach out to. This could be huge, right? But we just don't know. When is the Q&A happening? We don't know. No, Sydney hasn't said yet. And so we gotta pay attention to that one. Krunker is way different from what the games are showing right now. Yes, it's massively different. The closest game that they have to Krunker now is a multiplayer game that they have. Let me see if I can't pull it up. Shit, I can't find it. Oh, maybe I'll find it here. Hold chat, pause champ. They have this like multiplayer game that's like almost kind of a ripoff of Hype, and that's like their biggest. That's like their biggest adventure into multiplayer games, and it's still vastly different from Krunker. It's nowhere even close, and it doesn't run very well. And so it's a bit Monka-esque, right? That's why I am a little bit. I'm a little bit more confident in like Sydney and his team staying on, because a lot of this work is going to have to be offloaded onto them since they have the experience, and FRVR doesn't when it comes to a game like Krunker. So I would be more comfortable saying that the creative control will stay with Sydney than saying it won't. But it's still something. It's still something that we're just gonna have to wait and see. I can't wait to play pinball forever while watching ads in between Krunker games. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. Again, only time can tell exactly how Krunker is going to change. I am concerned personally for how competitive is going to change, or more specifically, the lack of it. As far as I could tell from what I've been reading, not only from what the people at Krunker have been saying, but the money that FRVR is planning on putting into, and the money that the investment company that gave the money to FRVR is looking into. None of those parties have a huge focus on competitive gaming and don't ever plan on having a huge focus on competitive gaming. So I'm a little bit worried, but who's to say, right? Hopefully it sticks around. I hope that Face It gets a little bit of a bigger role and helps support Krunker ranked a little bit more and has a little bit more leash, because at the moment I don't think they have a very big leash of what they're allowed to do in terms of development and competitive. I think they're only allowed to suggest, which is a bit mid. But yeah, that's left to be said. It's going to be very interesting to see how those three companies interact with the one product that they're all responsible for. How Yendis, FRVR, and Face It all interact with one another. But yeah, like I said, it's a short stream today. I just wanted to get this recording down because I want to make a YouTube video about this, and I'm going to post this YouTube video today as well. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. This acquisition's a big fucking deal. I'm kind of nervous for it. I'm not exactly 100% hopeful that this is going to go particularly well for my small little comps, but in terms of the general health of the game, I think this is a W. I think in terms of the casual player base and the Krunk script player base, I think this is going to be massive. I think content creators are going to absolutely make a bag out of this, because I know Yendis already has. But yeah, catch you guys later.